Carolyn Dube here. What's the play for today? Well, today's play comes courtesy of the hardware store because that's the theme for Let's Play for me this month, where I'm sharing with you ways that I have learned how to let myself play. So what did I find at the hardware store this time? A washer, a 22-cent washer. And I bought a whole bunch of them because at 22 cents, I can afford it. It's 22 cents. And with this, what I made was a necklace. I actually made 4 necklaces that you'll see in the video. And this one, by the way, was so incredibly ugly at one point. I detested it. And then I finally figured out why, and it actually became my favorite by the end. Happens to me all the time. When there's something I don't like and I keep working with it, it becomes one of my favorites. Now this is all for Let's Play, which is a weekly link party, and the theme for this month is getting stuff from the hardware store, but you don't have to stick with that theme to share what you're doing in the link party, because play doesn't have a whole lot of rules. Play is play, and every time one person plays, it encourages someone else to take the time, take the leap, and let themselves play, because it's a whole lot of fun, but kind of sometimes it's scary as an adult to make that time for you to play. Well, enough of my talking here. You can find all this information over on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com. And now let's see exactly how I turned a 22-cent washer into a necklace. So this pile of washers here that I'm using, they cost less than a gallon of gas. How exciting is that it's something super cheap? Another great reason to find things at the hardware store is a lot of times you will get things that are just an absolute bargain and steal. Now with this, I am tracing these onto book text. And when I cut these out, I am not actually going to follow the lines. I'm going to cut inside them because I want my book text to fit onto the washer and not stick off the edge at all. Same thing with the circle in the middle. And by the way, I know these aren't perfectly cut out. I'm not even going to pretend or try to make it perfectly round. I am so letting it be a little bit wonky. It'll add to the character of it because trying to make a perfect circle is just going to stress me out big time. And this is about play, not about stress. So anyway, I'm going to embrace the wonky. I've got it for each side here. And then what I'm going to do is take gel medium and I'm going to smear it all around there and just stick my book text on top of it. The cool part is that middle part where I cut through to the circle, that part, you can see that little crack there. When I slide them together, nobody will see it. Now, by the way, if your paper's not quite small enough, you can always take scissors and trim it up at this point or at any point. So I've gotten one side done. Now I'm going to do the other. And after I'm doing this one, I am making sure that the words are both going upright. So I did check that. I don't always remember that, quite frankly, but I did do it this time. And then I'm going to put some gel medium around the edges because I'm going to use the gel medium as kind of like the gesso or the binder so that paint will stick to the metal a little bit better. So just kind of slathering the gel medium everywhere, and then it's ready to go on to the next layer. Well, now it's time to add some color and paint to this. Using a brush, using your finger, using whatever it is that makes you happy, get some color on there. Now, I couldn't decide exactly whether or not I want to do this color or that color, or did I want to stay in a theme, or did I want to do the whole rainbow? So guess what? As cheap as these things are, I don't really have to choose. I'm actually going to make 4 of these, and as little bit of paint as they take, it's really easy to make a whole bunch of these with a very, very small amount of paint. Now, if I was doing an art journal page like this, I'd start thinking about what's going to be my focal image, kind of what's on my mind to incorporate next. And something is actually popping into my head as I'm doing this, and that's gratitude. I'm feeling very grateful that it's so easy to do multiples of these because these supplies are just so cheap, so easy to get more of them from the hardware store. I can try whatever ideas come to mind. I can experiment with putting some different colors of paint together and seeing if I like them, if I want to add in something even brighter and bring in this very, very hot pink color. I've got that freedom to do this because this is such a cheap project to make. If I was working on, say, silver or gold, I would not have quite as loose and free an attitude. So that got me thinking about all the different ways of being grateful, that counting your blessings kind of thing. So I decided to add numbers all over these. That way it's kind of a reminder of counting blessings, gratitude, that type of thing. And you might notice at times where it seems like I pause. What's happening there is I'm thinking about the stories associated with the numbers. It's sort of a little walk down memory lane for me as I'm making this. So a great big thank you to the Muse for this little perk here, this little bonus, because I really wasn't expecting this when I started playing with a bunch of cheap washers from the hardware store. Now I've put in one color with the numbers. I'm now going to grab a second color and I'm going to put that on top of it because I just want to cover this whole thing in numbers with all these memories, the significance of them. Now I am absolutely on a mission to get as many numbers on there as I can. Now you're probably thinking, wait, Carolyn, none of this stuff is dry and you're putting that paint on there pretty heavy. And the answer to that is yes, that is true. If you place your stencil just straight down on top, don't do a lot of sliding and slipping around kind of thing. You can do all sorts of stuff and you don't have to wait for things to dry. And this is one of those sort of messy layered paint kind of things. So if little specks of paint from when I've stenciled some other time during this process shows up in a different place, I consider that a really cool bonus and perk. I don't think that's a problem because this is kind of a messy mixed media feel vibe to this one. So you've got the idea of how I did the blue and green one, but now let's head over to the pink and orange one. So taking a look here at the orange and pink and purpley one, I'm putting the numbers on there, same process as what I used on the blue and green, except on this one, I'm not quite feeling all the joy that I had with the other one. You know, the memories are still there, sure, but the colors, something about it just isn't working for me, and I don't know what it is yet. So I'm going to call this a great big oops, because frankly, pretty much about this point, I thought it was hideously ugly. Just didn't like it, and I couldn't figure out why, because I really like those colors. I really like the design and the way I'm doing this, so it's got meaning. It makes sense to me. I just did it with the blue and the green and the yellow, but here on the orange one, I'm like, no, I'm just not feeling it. Well, so I added another color to see if that changed it for me, and I gotta tell you, it really didn't. I thought it actually kind of made it even uglier. So I'm not sure what's going on here, but I think it's time for me to step away from this aspect for just a minute and do something else. Now my stencil has all sorts of paint loaded up on it because I've been using heavy-bodied paints and I've been putting lots and lots of it on there. And I don't want to waste that paint. So I'm going to bring in a baby wipe and I'm going to basically clean off that stencil. You can see how much color and paint is on there. But as I'm cleaning it off, I'm going to get this wonderful messy stenciling of it underneath there. So now this will become scrap paper, something I might add into a journal. I might add more layers on, but that way none of the paint gets wasted. And it gave me a chance to take a break from the ugly one to see if I get a different idea on what to do with it. Well, yeah, these are just ugly to me. And I finally figured out what the problem was. I didn't have enough color. I wanted more color in there. So I'm completely going nuts with the rainbow and adding lots and lots of layers of numbers with all sorts of colors in it. If you've been enjoying this video about how I let myself play, you might enjoy the other videos in the Let's Play series. And just so you know, there's a new one that comes out every week, and if you hit that subscribe button, you'll know as soon as I have one of those out. You can also find out about all the previous ones over on my blog at acolorfuljourney.com, and I'll have a link down below in the video description so you can get to all of the Let's Play blog posts and videos. And I also have a free workshop called Permission to Play, which is an introduction to mixed media, some art journaling, but most of all, different ways to let yourself play. Well, once I was happy with the fronts of each of these, I went and did the same thing on the back. And then I'm going to deal with the metal edge here on the blue-green one. I don't like how it looks with it, so I'm simply going to paint over it. I'm taking a Q-tip and I am just rubbing it anywhere where I've got some of that exposed metal. So right around the edges, the inner edges, the outer edges, anywhere that I feel like there's some metal showing and I don't want it showing. And once I get it the way that I like it, I am going to let it completely dry before I go on to putting a glossy coating on this. One thing that I found interesting is on the blue-green one, I did not want to see any of the metal, but I really liked the metal look on the rainbow one, so I left it there. So you have choices in terms of what makes you happiest when you look at it. Cover the metal with paint or keep the look of the metal, totally up to you. So now to seal this, I'm going to bring in some of the Deco Art Media liquid glass, and I'm just going to squeeze a generous amount with this. And it's a very thick substance so that it will stay where you put it, but it also means you might have to shake the bottle to get it to move down to the tip to come out. So I'm going to put some on there, and then I'm going to grab that fancy tool in my finger, and I'm just going to smear it around. Even if it looks cloudy right now, it will dry completely clear, and I get this great sort of painty texture to this. And in order to do both sides with this, I am going to have to let one side completely dry before I flip it over and do the other, for obvious reasons if it's wet glue and you stick it on something. I also found that I'm showing you this on a white card or a white surface so you can see what I'm doing really well, but I found that if I set them off on something like a nonstick craft mat or a piece of wax paper, something like that, there's less chance of it sticking to things that I don't want it to stick to. And of course, hit those edges, even if they're off camera. Still no, put a little bit of that glossy, that liquid glass around the edges, so that gives them a matching shimmer and shine. I did both the outside and the inside edges. Let one side dry completely, and then went and did the second side. And when I'm all done, it's completely shiny front or back. Well, now it's time to string up these completely dry pendants. I'm going to take a piece of ribbon, fold it in half, got the little end of it, the loop right there, and then I'm going to pull through the other rest of the ribbon, and that will just knot it right on there or secure it on there. It'll never come off unless I want to take it off. And how am I going to tie this ribbon all the way on as a necklace? I'm just going to tie it in the back to whatever length I want it to be. This is a super simple, quick project to make. Well, as I finish putting the strings on, or the ribbons on the rest of my pendants here, I just want to say a great big thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you taking the time and joining me for a little bit of play. If you'd like to have more play, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I have another video out. And if you want even more than that, head on over to my blog at acolorfuljourney.com, where I've got a newsletter with a free video and download waiting for you, as well as my free workshop called Permission to Play. You might notice a theme here about the whole play thing going on for me. And also, too, if you want to see what other people are doing, head on over to the link party that happens every week for Let's Play, where people are sharing what they're playing with. Now, each month I have a theme, but guess what? Play doesn't have a lot of rules to it. So whatever you share, it can be on that month's theme, or it can be any play that you're doing. Plus, there's a monthly $50 gift certificate giveaway. Well, thanks so much for being a part of this colorful journey.